Young Shannon Briggs comes in here from Brooklyn, New York. 21 17 KO. Many people are looking at one fight. Heavyweight division.
Well, unfortunately, their MC, Michael Buffer, getting drowned out by the sound of this crowd. But that is Shannon Briggs. He's unbeaten in 21 professional contests. His opponent, well, I'm afraid he's only won twice in the last 3 years. Marion Wilson. He's a toughie, though. He's had 23 fights, and he's only won 7. And I'm afraid Marion Wilson's not very good. He looks the part, and as I say, he's reasonably tough. But he's a rare winner. And Briggs, you may remember, well, he was refused a place on the American Olympic team in 1992 and turned professional while the lads were over there in Barcelona. And he's quite a character, Briggs. Very nifty, in good shape as well for a big lad. But I've got my doubts about Shannon Briggs, I'm afraid. He's had 21 fights, as I say, and he's had really fancied his chances at becoming heavyweight champion. He really would have been moved up long before this. But then, all these heavyweights today have got a problem. We've got an appalling situation at world level. And the news today that George Foreman has relinquished his IBF championship. So Axel Schulz, the German, will be contesting that instead of getting the rematch. And Foreman, of course, still the WBU champion. And that might not mean a great deal to anyone at the moment, but you never know, one day that could figure somewhere. Of course, Riddick Bowe's WBO champion, Oliver McCall still WBC champion. His fight with Frank Bruno been delayed now till September. But Lennox Lewis making noises about issuing a writ, because he should be fighting McCall first, or so he says. Bruce Seldon, of course, is the WBA champion, and he's not very good either. Then a bit of a dark horse, of course, Jimmy Thunder from the Antipodes. He's the IBO champion, for what that's worth. It's a real mess.
Let him out, Marion. Let him out.
But this one is scheduled for 8 rounds. Marion Wilson, as you can see, giving not only height but also weight to Briggs here. But he's used to giving weight to opponents. Last time he was outpointed by Kirk Johnson, that good Canadian, over 8 rounds. Wilson a pro now since August of 1989. So inside the final minute then of round 1. And you really should expect Briggs to take out a man like Marion Wilson, who's getting very shot-worn these days. And you've got to go back, in fact, to June of 1994 for the last win for Wilson. It was on points over 6 rounds. And, well, prior to that, another couple of years for another points win over 6 rounds. And the last result was a draw, you may remember, with a very jaded Ray Mercer, and a lot of people thought Wilson won that one. He's lost 4 since, folks. So that's the end of round 1, and no doubt for me that Briggs has won that one.
Let's go, we're out. Go, come on.
Well, I'll give you the rank. I've got these 2 out, and you'll get some idea of the mismatch this one is. Briggs is ranked 32, and Wilson 128. And that's simply because Wilson does not get the results. I suppose it's a fair test, really, for a man like Briggs, who really should be making much greater strides at this stage of his career than fighting the Wilsons of this world.
You're off his neck, Paul. You're off his neck. You're off his arm.
Just some of the men that Wilson's mixed it with. Francois Botha, who in fact is about to square off, if my information is correct, with Axel Schulz, the German, for that vacant IBF crown, and suddenly Wilson starts to get through. And Briggs, well, it'd be a mug if he takes too many of those. Wilson is well developed and he's strong. Well, Briggs there, forced to soak up these punches. But he doesn't look too bothered by them, that's for sure. Of course, we saw Wilson being outscored by Jeremy Williams in '93. Zelko Mavrovic beat him at the end of last year. So it's a fair quality. And suddenly Briggs then gets his act together here. Two-fisted, he's got Wilson hanging on. Well, that spell then fizzled out. And while I'm talking about Marion Wilson, it's worth noting that Briggs has never fought anybody really considered a threat. No names really that you'd recognise in the higher echelons of even novice company. Referee for this one, Steve Smoger. Nice guy, good referee. So we had a good spell then, first minute or so for Wilson before Briggs came back and took away the play in the second minute. Who's going to win this last minute? Good left right there from Briggs. And of course Wilson having his best moments when he seems to crowd Shannon. I suppose when you've got a name like Marion, you've got to be a fighter. Although Marion was originally a man's name, or so they tell me. Of course, John Wayne was originally called Marion, wasn't he? Is it Marion Morrison or something? The last few seconds then, I don't know. I mean, that round really could have been an even one, couldn't it? Except Briggs did finish slightly stronger. So possibly his. But in the first minute of that round, I think it's fair to say that Marion Wilson put the frighteners on Shannon Briggs for a little while. Round 3. And Wilson, of course, desperate for a result. If you gave him the choice of fighting someone who'd won his last 10 against someone who'd lost his last 10, I think you'd have a far simpler time against the man who'd won his last 10. Ask any regular loser what he wants most, and they'll tell you it's a win.
Get off, push off.
And Wilson, almost 40 years of age now. That's pretty old, isn't it? And Shannon Briggs from Brooklyn in New York. Tough area. And apparently being groomed for heavyweight championship status. And I'm not too sure about that. I do have my doubts. And once again, Wilson connects with 2 or 3 left hooks there. Wilson did have Jeremy Williams cut, bothered and floored, of course, when they met. Williams, a very small heavyweight. He had Wilson on the floor too, quite late in the fight. And if Briggs can't repeat that, well, I'm afraid he's even more suspect than I think he is. And Shannon Briggs, fair boxer. He's pretty snappy, as you can see. And Marion Wilson looking like Apollo Creed out of the Rocky films. Well, once again, a finish coming to the round from the prospect Briggs. But a few pleasing moments again for Wilson. Well, another good little round this, I would say, for Shannon Briggs. Good finish. Matched with Francois Botha for the vacant IBF Championship. Why on earth isn't Henry Akinwanda from Britain being considered for the same honour? Of course, he holds a win and a draw with Schultz.
Never lost by KO.
And you'd have thought that he'd have been a natural choice. But I despair, I really do, about the state of world boxing today. Especially the heavyweights, of course, got their own rules. And that is the big picture. Briggs landing far more punches than Wilson. And they're not, there doesn't seem to be much of a disparity between the amount of punches they're throwing, just that Briggs is landing. And once again, a big mugging left hook there from Wilson. And this is the South Mountain Arena, South Orange in New Jersey. They're not too far from Briggs' home of New York. And I think it's also fair to say that Briggs' education should be well over now by now. 21 professional fights behind him. This is number 22, and he's really got to start making his move within the next 10 fights, hasn't he? But as I was about to say earlier, these days, of course, just the slightest slip at top class, and you've had it. Conversely, the right result, even in the top 20, doesn't matter if you're in the top 10 these days, if you're in the top 20, and suddenly you are there. Of course, you're far more likely to get a championship shot if you're beatable and on a losing streak. In fact, Wilson far more likely to get a shot at the championship than Briggs. What a terrible indictment on heavyweight boxing these days. And of course, Johnny Nelson is the World Boxing Federation champion. So a few seconds left in round 8. Bit of a scuffling round, this one. The boxing coming from Briggs, but the brawling coming from Wilson. Well, I suppose you've got to go with Briggs, really. 40-36 then in favour of the dyed-haired Shannon Briggs. One good thing about Wilson, I did say he was durable earlier on as we come into the halfway stage, is the fact he's never been stopped in his professional career. Well, a good start then to round 5 for Briggs. And again, nice little left right there from Shannon. And I just wonder how hard he actually hits. Although he stopped 17 of 21, as I say, they've all been really pretty mediocre opponents. Oh, nice left hook from Briggs. And if you're wondering why Briggs was dropped from the Barcelona Olympic squad, well, he was considered by the powers that be to be politically incorrect. They didn't like his blonde hair, they didn't like his attitude, but they might well have cost themselves a medal. Uppercut, left hook from Wilson. Well, this is not too inspiring either, but suddenly Briggs gets through the right and then the left of the body. He's a fair boxer for heavyweight. You've got to give him that. Nice and speedy with the left hand. I hesitate to call it a jab because it's a real ramrod punch, isn't it?
Hands up, coming out.
Another round then for Briggs. 5 points in front, 5 rounds gone, 3 to go. This is scheduled, of course, for 8 rounds, and you really would have thought that Briggs would be boxing 10-rounders. But down at the 8-round class.
He has landed.
And Briggs has got some very nice moves, trained by Teddy Atlas, of course, who's one of the best, without a doubt. One of the very, very good motivator for sure.
Shannon Briggs.
Break on your step, break.
Well, Steve Smoger getting involved more and more as this one's gone on. And really, you wouldn't have thought that Wilson could get too close to Briggs if he only just keeps shooting out that jab. Of course, the reason that Wilson is going to try and put his head on Briggs' shoulder, he's done quite well when he's there, but it also means that Briggs can't get the leverage he needs for his punches. And if you want to defend yourself, you're better doing it on the inside rather than the outside, unless, of course, you're a very good mover, which I'm afraid Wilson is not. And you've really got to be an inspired man when you're aiming for a shot at the heavyweight title. You've got to really make this crowd believe in you. And to drop your hands and back off and puff and blow won't do it. You've got to be inspired at all times, really. 10 to go then in the 6th. great.
Sitting in between us and Michael Moore. Michael, it's nice to see you.
Thank you.
And many of your yeah, we're good to have you. Many of your fans will be happy to know that you're coming back against Tim Puller. When's that fight? And tell us something about it.
May 13th up in Sacramento, California. Lennox Lewis is going to be in it. It's the co-main event, Lennox Lewis and myself.
Get yourself back in action. Now, of course, Mike Tyson getting out, a lot of excitement around the division. Where do you see yourself fitting into that entire picture right now?
Well, everything's speculation now. Everyone's talking about Mike Tyson coming out because he was a force in boxing at one time. But you never know what he's going to do. If I was Tyson, I would take about 6-7 months off and relax and, you know, get back into society and learn about myself and the people and what's going on in the boxing game. And I wouldn't rush right into it.
So Michael Moore there. They missed the R off, of course. It's Michael Moore talking. And, well, Wilson starting his 7th round because he knows he needs a knockout to win. And as I say, he desperately needs a win. He's won twice in the last 3 years. And that's poor. 1 draw, of course. "14 fights he's had in that period. 1-2, drawn 1, lost 11. And the crowd, of course, booing at the end of round 6. Because, as that word inspired, you don't really associate with Briggs' performance here. And everyone's looking for a saviour in the heavyweight division. When Tyson went, he was already on the slide. Remember that? Of course, he denies it, as do those around him. But it wasn't the same old Mike Tyson. And I doubt very much whether it'll be the same Tyson that returns to the ring. Of course, he'll be fresh. But who wouldn't after almost 4 years? Well, Wilson, they're getting a warning for leaning on. It's about time. But once again, Briggs there, getting through the nice right hand, but didn't follow it up. Ooh, big shot there by Wilson. And if that would have landed on the chin, who knows? But Marion now reduced almost to landing a single blow at a time. Well, I think you'll have to make up your own minds. Is Briggs more show than substance, I wonder? Well, I wonder. He's winning the rounds without a doubt. But so many people in the past have showed that that's not hard to do with Wilson. Well, so far, I think Marion's lost every round as we go into the last. Well, looks like that losing streak of Wilson's will continue here. Nice left hook from Briggs, and with all that body and swiveled behind it, and it landed very flush. And it's done almost virtually nothing to Wilson. That's worrying. And of course, punchers are not made, they're born. And if you're not a puncher at this stage, after 21 fights, you ain't never going to be a puncher. Well, Briggs is really winning this one. I wouldn't say comfortably, because you really can't relax against Wilson, but he's won it in a workmanlike fashion, I think. I'll be surprised if any of the judges score against him. 80-72 for me. But possibly the watchword for Briggs in this contest must be uninspired, really. He's boxed fairly smartly. He's been fair in almost every department, but never special. And I must admit, I do expect more from my heavyweight prospects.
A young man who bucked for a hand injury might
So less than half a minute to go then. And again, that left hook from Briggs, followed by a right. And then that's a good right hand there from Shannon Briggs. But once again, it landed flush and didn't have a great deal of effect. Ten to go. So it's all over now then, bar the shouting. And it looks like an all-the-way win for Briggs. 80-72.
Shannon Briggs looks to us here like he carved out an 8-round win.
Well, Wilson once again raising his arm there because, well, he's still very proud of his record of never being stopped. As I say, I can't think of a round that he lost, Briggs, or even shared.
Learn something here. Grow up and stop making things harder than they have to be.
Make no mistake about it, that young man, Shannon Briggs, should get a win in
the guy wasn't
cooperating. Along the way, showed that Shannon Briggs are able to punch it, so maybe not as many of them as some would like, but I'm sure when they look at these efforts, technically, it was sound.
Jam was there when he threw it. Sometimes he got hit on the counter coming back. As far as a good flurry at the end. And one like one more. Press it up a little bit.
Deep cut for your nose.
Swallow it. You're looking at a shutout anyway.
Well, that just about says it all, doesn't it? 216-87 in the entire contest. And there's Teddy Atlas, as I say, cracking trainer.
Not that bad as well on your fighter, so it's a good effort for Shannon Briggs. Michael Buffer from the center of the ring.
And an oldie but a toughie, Marion Wilson. Here we go.
The scorecards. Melvina Latham and Eva Shane both scored the bout 80-72. Steve Weisfeld has it 79-73 for the winner by unanimous decision. From the Mark Roberts House of Pain in West Orange, New Jersey, still undefeated, Shannon.
Well, how on earth one judge could find Briggs losing a round is beyond me.